video to all participants who have joined us today. We will also send it to the coordinators for GRIP and Lean Launchpad programs. So if you don't get an email from us, you can also check with your coordinators for the video to all participants who have joined us today. Yes, so just hang on 1 minute because the live stream is... Okay, so back to this. Just give me 1 second. Sorry about this. A lot of technical things to do for the for Zoom. Right. So I've put in a link to the in the chat, right, where you can download our slides. So we have a PDF of the slides up on this bit.ly link. Yeah, so you can just click on the link in the chat screen. Right, so just to start off, if you go to the address at the top, pof.com/Suyan, S-U-Y-A-N, you can give me your responses about where you are from. It's just to give Milan and I an idea of you know, the general demographics of our participants today. So you can put down the department or your faculty, or you know, if you're from another institute, you can also put that down as well. So we like to see whether we have any friends from other institutions who have joined us. So far, only engineering and science. Oh. There, I hope everybody can see the link again. Yes, so mostly engineering and science, which is quite expected. But real estate as well. So STE colleagues are here as well. Psychology. Okay, for business students, right, you might find this a little basic because we are just going to cover some basics. But if you find this interesting, you can also check out our library guides. And I usually hold workshops as well for on business research. And if you need any help, you can always email me because I'm the business resource librarian. Milan handles science and IP patents mainly. Right, so yes. Oh, we have industry friends as well. Bounty Food Private Limited. Is it? Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. Just give me 1 second. I'll have to... The menu is in the way. Alamak. Okay. Right, so I'm going to log and move on to the next slide.
I think you have to...
Whoops. Yeah. Okay, sorry about that.
Share screen.
Yeah, so I have to hang on because I have to start the screen show, the show again. Whoops, wrong one. Okay, here we go. Right, so the agenda for the first half of the workshop today is why do research, business research in particular, and we'll have an overview of some of the business databases. And before I hand over to Milan, I'll have a short period for Q&A, so to answer any questions that you may have concerning the areas that I've covered previously.
Suyan, you are now showing the YouTube page.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Hang on. Yes, okay, sorry. I have two laptops and I still can't see what I'm showing. All right. So why do we do research? So there are certain things that we have to understand about our market before we can uh, write up a credible business plan. So before you can even start planning, right, about your budget and how big a market you're expecting, you have to know what that market is. So you have to understand the trends, what are the major highlights of that market, what are the major events that have had an effect on that market, so whether it's going up or coming down, whether it is viable to enter that particular market, whether it's you're talking about the industry or a country at this particular timing, and what are the possible risks as well as the rewards that you can get from entering that market. And of course, very importantly, you have to have the context. So what is your expected market size? You have to know that certain markets, for instance, right, a mobile phone market in Singapore, right, is close to $1 billion. But if your innovation deals with like pesticides, the pesticide market is less than, I think it's less than 100 million. So it's about only 19 plus million. So your expectations and the revenue that you hope to gain, right, for these two different markets will be very, very different. So you have to scale and plan accordingly. So this is something that I picked up from a database called Frost and Sullivan that we'll have a view of later on. And I find it a very useful overview about the kind of research you need to do. So the research methodology that they're covering here, right, is secondary research, which you're all probably familiar with, and which is on the top left corner. And then you have primary research. So primary research is something that you have to do in person. So you have to go and actually interview people. You have to talk to industry leaders. You have to talk to people who are in research or the policy people or the C-class people and so forth to get straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, the information. Then on the right hand side in the dark blue box, right, you have a lot of the research that can be done using business databases. So market impact, what is the industry landscape, who are your potential competitors, who are your potential suppliers, customers. Industry funding is a bit difficult for the databases that we have, but you can actually get some inkling of the information from news sources and some statistics as well to find out like where are industries investing, where is the money coming in, how much is being put into certain industries. And of course, strategic insights will be like forecasting data, and also possibly interviews with industry leaders, right, about what they think the market is going to look like in the near future and so forth. So the what you hope to get from looking at all this data, right, is the how your innovation will impact the market. So and any growth opportunities. So how you expect to scale and grow within that industry. So for data, right, at the macro level, usually that kind of data is pretty easy to get. And you may want to look at uh, this country data because Singapore is a very small market. So uh, you for a lot of innovations, you will have to look at least regional, so like Asia or ASEAN, which means that you have to get understanding of our neighboring countries as well. So getting country statistics is pretty important, and especially if you want to set up, say, factories or production overseas, right? Then you have to get an idea of what the business landscape is like there, with the wages, the general, labor costs, and so forth. Then at the slightly more granular level, you have industry information. So that is what we're talking about, like the market information. So you can also try and find potential partners or even people who could purchase your innovation. So you can look at what companies, right, are investing or are producing technology that's similar to yours. So these are the industry information that you can look for, and this kind of information tends to be quite expensive to get. When if you Google for it, very often you will see a lot of market research reports, right, available online, right, and they will ask for like $5,000, $6,000 for one report. So this is when using the databases that are subscribed by NUS would be very useful. And then finally, at a more granular level, you may want to find out more about certain companies. So let's say you're pitching your innovation to a particular company, you will want to get a good idea of what this company is doing, their size, the finances, and a lot of people will say, I go to the website can already, ma. But the website will always present the rosiest picture. It is like a wedding album. So they always show you the most romanticized version, right? Everybody happy, happy. But if you want to know like why Samsung batteries were exploding, right, some years back, you're not going to find it from the Samsung website. So the best place to look for this kind of information, right, get a more holistic view, a more impartial view, and more complete view of companies is to look at third-party data sources. So looking at the SWOT analysis or other kinds of analysis and news about these companies from various sources. So that's why it's important to look at statistics and analysis, even at the company level. So when I talk about SWOT a lot, for those non-business students and participants, right, SWOT basically is a business term for these four criteria. So internal positives are strengths, internal negatives are weaknesses, then external positives that are opportunities, so things that they can take advantage of, and external negatives are threats, so things like competitors or negative situations that may have a negative impact on the company. So when you talk about SWOT, right, these are the four things, and you can actually apply SWOT to or anything. You can apply SWOT to a country, to an industry, even to innovations or your team. So you are able to summarize a holistic analysis of a situation or a team or organization, right, using these four criteria. And this is something that a colleague of mine came up with some time ago, where he found this design thinking concept, where an innovation, right, should ideally reside at a sweet spot between these three factors. So the thing has to be feasible. That means technologically it's applicable. And we also have to look at the environmental impact of certain technologies as well, especially in this day and age. So does it have a very adverse environmental impact? Then in which case, chances are a lot in companies or corporations, even countries, will not want to adopt that technology. So technologically, environmentally, it has to be doable. It has to work out. And whether it's economically viable. So if you have an innovation that works out very well, you're expecting like $100 million returns on it, so forth. But 1 gram of that product costs, $500,000. A lot of people are going to look at that and say it's not viable. Economically, it's too expensive to produce, right? In proportion to the returns that you're expecting for it. So the economic and industrial applications, right, is about whether or not it is economically viable. And then finally, you have desirability. So whether it's socially acceptable and whether the legal and political situation allows you to adopt it. So for instance, if you have a product that has marijuana inside, Singapore definitely out because we don't allow it. But let's say if you go to certain states in the US, or certain other countries that have started to legalize marijuana, like certain European countries, then that innovation may be possible. And then socially desirable, right, is also a very major factor. For instance, right, say 10, 15 years ago, right, the concept of VR was very scary to a lot of people. You know, you got a lot of these horror movies about VR, right? And then people were thinking, no, technology is going to be a death of us. You know, we can't do VR. But nowadays, every grandmother also have Pokemon Go. They play with Pokemon Go. And what is that? That's augmented reality, that's VR. And it has become something that, you know, socially acceptable already to play with like Google cameras and 360 views and things like that. So you can see that there's been this massive shift in the perception of what VR and AR is, right? In terms of the social acceptability. So these three factors have to be taken into account when you're looking at your innovation or solution, right? To ensure that you are not hitting any major roadblocks when you want to introduce your innovation. So now we're going to look at resources that are available. And for NUS subscribed resources, right, even if there's a free version online, like for instance, Statista, right, you can, when you're Googling for Statista, for statistics, very often you get to free pages for Statista. But you probably know that Statista has premium content as well. And we actually have a subscription to that. So it is always best to sign in via the library portal and access the database from there. And you do that by going using the database tab and either searching for the database, or that it might be under the major databases. But a quick way of doing it is usually just put in the name of the database in the database tab to look for it. So for country databases, right, I would recommend these three. So EIU.com is very good for a holistic coverage because they try to cover like the political, social, economic factors. They have some industry reports, and they highlight and analyze certain major events within that country. And if you are not very familiar with that particular country, EIU.com is a good place to start to get a good overview. Our subscription covers 41 countries, mostly in the Asia Pacific region. And we also have country forecasts. So that means forecasting data for 16 of those countries. And there's also detailed China data, but it's only for selected provinces and cities. So you can have a look at eiu.com. It's a pretty intuitive interface. You just search for eiu.com from our database, right? And on the landing page, you just keep scrolling down and you should see the coverage of our subscription there. And you can click on the particular country to access it. Then Passport is pretty good because they do a lot of analysis for most countries. So they will have a lot of statistical data. So demographic data, consumer data. So there are lots of tables and graphs, and they will give you country reports as well about what the consumer trends are like there in a particular country for certain products. And they break it down quite a granular level. So they'll tell you that certain, people in their 20s are consume this way, people in their 30s consume this way, women consume this way, men consume that way. What are the big ticket items that are being bought in this country, and so forth. And for those of you who want to look at uh, very numerical data, indicators, World Bank is a good resource for looking at these profiles in a very statistical, numerical way. And they have various types of indicators like education indicators, poverty indicators, economic indicators, to sort of like measure each country's progress in certain factors. And the good thing about World Bank data is that it is open access, so anyone can access it. So at a more granular level for industry data, we have actually quite a few, but these are some that I will recommend uh, as a first place to start. So if you are interested, if your innovation involves consumer products, retail products, uh, then Passport is definitely the place to go, because Passport covers a lot of consumer product industries, and they also cover certain retail services. So things like credit cards, personal bank accounts, travel tourism, what they call consumer food service, basically eating at restaurants and stuff, cafes. They will cover those that type of data, and they will also have as I said before, very detailed range of consumer information in terms of statistics, but also analysis. And the analysis is the very expensive part, because that's where a lot of market research companies charge a lot for their reports. So having access to Passport is actually a very good resource. Frost and Sullivan is very good for a very broad range of industries. Later, I'll show you very quickly what those industries are, and their coverage is not even. Some industries they cover in great detail, some not so much. And their focus actually is about how certain innovations and technologies, right, impact markets. And so they are a lot of their reports are one-off reports. So it may be they have a report in 2016, 2017, right, about a particular innovation, and they never update that report again, because they're moving on to newer innovations for more current reports. Fitch Connect also is a pretty good industry database. It covers, they also have a specific range of industries that you can have a look at. They do very short highlights every day, and every quarter they will come up with a summary report for these industries by country. Fish Connect, right, has certain technical problems, because I find that sometimes when you try to access Fish Connect, you get this gray blank page. Then what you do is that you try and move on to another browser. Like for instance, on my Office PC, right, I cannot use Chrome for Fish Connect. I can only use Firefox. On my laptop, I can't even use Chrome or Firefox, so I have to use Microsoft Edge. I'm not sure what the issue is. They can't figure out what the problem is either, but eventually one of the browsers will work. Then finally, Gartner, right, is probably something familiar with a lot of people who have worked in industry or in IT. Gartner focuses on IT innovations, but because IT permeates so many industries, right, the range of industries they cover is also quite broad. So anything from like hospitals to enterprise technology to smart cities to autonomous vehicles and transportation and all that. So what I like about Gartner is that um, it is good for a person who's not very tech uh, um, savvy, right, to be able to read their reports and look at their hype cycles, where it provides context. Like, there are certain technologies. Where does 5G fall under? What paradigm? How does it affect other technologies? And they give very layman's explanations as well. And Frost and Sullivan also does that. The reports that they produce, right, doesn't assume that the reader has very in-depth knowledge of the technology. So they try to break down explanations, right, in very layman's language. Right. So I'm going to show a quick video about what hang on. I just need to get some things out of the way. Okay, there we go. Right. So this is Frost and Sullivan. So when you log in, this is what you see. And there are two search boxes here that you can make use of, but I usually wouldn't recommend it, especially if you have a search that uses multiple words. That means you have a certain phrase that you're searching for. So let me show you what I mean. So let's say if I do a search, so right now there are about 50,000 reports available. So I do a search for face masks, right? I get around 30,000 reports. So 30,300 plus reports. Then I add more words. Do you expect less or more results? You actually end up with 2,000 more results, because it will just search for reports that have any of those words. So the best thing to do is actually to use the advanced search function. So you can click on the hamburger menu to pop out this menu out, and then the advanced search function is the plus button, and you can see that there are all these fields. So there's all these words. That means when I put terms in that first box, it will make sure that the report actually has all these different words. And you may want to limit your search in other ways as well, but I wouldn't recommend choosing your industry at this point in time. Try to keep it to all the industries, and you may want to update the publication date. So usually the default is 2000, which is like 20 years old, which is a bit uh, going a bit far back lah. So let's say if I put it to 2015, and you can actually limit it to a region as well. Now, why do I recommend not choosing the industry? Do you notice this respiratory protection market, right? You expect respiratory protection market to be like maybe under PPE for like uh hospital or medical supplies, right? But it actually comes under chemical foods and materials. So like so if you had put healthcare, or you had put medical supplies, you wouldn't get this report. So that's why I wouldn't recommend choosing the industry at the advanced search level when you're doing the advanced search. Oops, I have, sorry, hang on 1 minute. Today is a day for Murphy's Law for me. Everything that can go wrong is going wrong. Where were we? I think we were here. Yes, so the advanced search function, and then doing the searches. So choosing your region, and then these are the reports that have come out. So I've whittled it down to about 7 reports, which is a little bit low. So the search for HEPA and MAS is not very, very high on this for Frost and Sullivan. So another way of looking for data, right, is that you can actually browse as well, browse for reports. So I've gone into one of these reports, and you can see that most of the reports are done in a slide format. So you can actually sort of copy and paste some of this data, or even some of the graphs or tables or graphics, right, available for your own presentations. And if you click on any of the headers on this site, right, it will jump you to that report. And you can download these reports in PDF. Okay, so these are some of the industries that are covered by let me go back a little bit. Yeah, by Frost and Sullivan. So you'll notice that some of the number of reports available in each of these industries is varies a lot. So some like healthcare and ICT, right, is very high, and then some like education, careers research, not so high. And so the Frost and Sullivan has its strength in certain reports, right? And then it will go down into sectors and subsectors. So you can actually start going down further into more granular subsectors. So for instance, right, I've chosen like respiratory devices. So it's able to help me narrow it down to certain reports that deal with these. And the reports on the right hand side will change according to the sectors and subsectors that you have selected. Okay, so for instance, like respiratory digital therapeutics, disorder market, and they have forecasting as well. Some go quite far ahead, right? So this is Frost and Sullivan, and you can actually limit down to region and country from here as well, right? So I would encourage you to try out Frost and Sullivan on your own. In the handout, right, I actually go to a slightly different video, which tries to give you some tips and tricks about using Frost and Sullivan. So you can also view that video, which is about 2 or 3 minutes long, before you get started using the database to sort of get a better idea about how to use this. Right, so let me test you a little bit. So back to the POEF page, right? I like to ask you, oops, sorry.
You have locked it, I think.
Uh,
You got the poll.
Hang on. Is it activated already?
The poll
Activated.
is locked.
The poll is locked. Okay, sorry. Okay, So are you able to get in? Let me try it on my end as well. So I have to test you because my bosses say I have to show that you guys have understood what I'm saying. So I have to show some kind of report saying that yes, people understand what I've been talking about for the last 20 minutes. Right. So just put in your answers whether passport has gene therapy or reports on beverages or reports on credit cards or reports on all of them. So you remember earlier I said that passport is a market research company, right? It focuses on just certain markets. Oh, sorry, hang on. Let me try activate it again.
Yeah, it's not activated. I think I
Yeah.
cannot see.
Okay. Yes. So sorry. Murphy's Law is really playing around with me today. Right. Okay, I'm going to log in about 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the correct answers, right, are beverages and credit cards. Why? Because gene therapy is not a consumer product. So passport, right, focuses on consumer products and and certain retail services. So let's say if I put cafes, right, or restaurants, yes, that's the one. So that's also covered by passport. But gene therapy is not a consumer product, so it is not covered. I originally put in the previous assessment, right, I put in automobiles, and then because automobiles are also not a consumer product, but passport covers something called luxury markets. So they do have some information about luxury cars. Okay, so the sometimes the lines are not so clear cut. So for instance, right, I did manage to find a pretty useful report, right, about how robots are uh, uh, being introduced into the Japanese market for the elderly. So even though robots are not a consumer product, Passport still did some analysis about that, about the impact of the robotics on the elderly in Japan. So some of the analytical reports, right, do try and cover other products, but in general, what they cover are consumer products and retail services. Okay, and then oops. Let's move on to the next one.
You have to escape and then get back into the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay.
Try that as
Yeah, it stops the sharing.
Oh dear.
Okay, never mind. Wait, let me get back and share screen again. Right. Okay. So in Frost and Sullivan, right, if I type in electric cars, it will give me X number of results. Then if I type in autonomous electric cars, will it give me less than X or more than X results? Well, very fast this time. Okay, we'll finish up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so most of you got this right. The more words you put in when you search, use the basic search, right, the more results you're going to get. So it is important to use advanced search function, right, to do your searching if you have multiple words to ensure that the results that you're getting, right, are all the relevant ones. So that's one takeaway lah for Frost and Sullivan. I always advise people to use the advanced search function rather than basic, unless you're only using 1 to 2 words, in which case it may still be manageable. But like as I tried earlier, right, like I put in face mask, I still got 30,000 results. So which means that I have to filter through quite a lot of things before I find the reports that I want. Okay, so finally, right, I just want to briefly talk about company databases, but I won't be really covering it because it may not be useful to everybody, but it's just to tell you that we do have resources that have pretty in-depth analysis as well as information about companies. So for those of you who probably for real estate participants, right, if you need like financial data for companies, right, Orbis is probably the best place to go because Orbis uh, makes their data uniform. So they'll pull the data from annual reports and so forth, right? But they will put it into very uniform lines. So you are able to compare apples to apples, right? If you are looking at different companies within an industry. D&B Hoovers is pretty good with analysis. They try to go for more qualitative side. So they have things like triggers where they try to collect, curate news about companies, right? And predict whether or not these news will have a good or bad impact on that company's performance. And one thing they also do pretty well is to work out like they have a nice user-friendly corporate family structure. So if you have certain brands and you want to find out who the owner of that brand is and who are what other brands are within that same family, that means they are owned by the same parent company. D&B Hoovers is a very good place to look for that kind of data. Factiva is very good if you're short of time and you just want to have like a very quick overview or snapshot, what they call, of the company. And for the larger companies, they also have peer listings. So you're able to create a list of similarly sized companies within the same industry. Let's say if you want to do a survey, you want to send out emails to these people, to particular companies, or you want to do a comparison of certain companies, and so you want to create a list of similarly sized companies in that industry. Factiva is a pretty good place to start to do that. And then for filling in the gaps, right, no matter how many databases you go to, right, eventually you're going to find certain gaps in your knowledge, especially for current events, because a lot of these reports, they take time to do the analysis and then work on it and publish the reports, right? So sometimes if you're looking at very current issues, you have to look at news sources. So ABI Inform is one of our databases, right, that some of you may be familiar with as an academic database because they have a lot of journals, but they also have a lot of these magazines, news sources. But the disadvantage is that because they cover so many sources, some of these are very thinly veiled advertisements lah. So sometimes you're searching for, like, say, biotechnology industry, and then you see, wow, I got a lot of hits, saying that, oh, this is the biotechnology market research report in Asia for, but when you look at it, it's actually like a one paragraph notice saying that, yes, there's this report, but you have to pay $5,000 for it. So that is one disadvantage lah for ABI Inform. Factiva is a very good news database. They cover news from all over the world, and usually today's papers will be in by the afternoon, and they have multiple languages as well. So sometimes if certain technologies or innovations are more prevalent in certain countries, like say Japan or China, then you may want to try looking at the Chinese or Japanese newspapers. And Factiva will also provide translation within the database, so you don't have to worry about that. Nexus Uni, I find, is pretty good because it's very user-friendly. They have one huge box like Google. You just put in your search and then you can see what results come out. But they also cover a lot of IP notices. So like, let's say recently company A has filed a patent for such and such a technology. So Nexus Uni is pretty good for looking for that type of notices. So it's pretty good for people who are trying to keep abreast of certain technologies or innovations. So this is a very quick video. I'll just very quickly show it. The link that I have in the video in the handout, right, is also on Factiva, but it is slightly longer. So after logging into Factiva, let me just move ahead a little bit. Yeah, so this is the search screen, and this is for the search screen, right? You can put in your search terms here. You can actually look for your sources and also change the regions and so forth. So I go into more detail in the video in your handout, but this screen, right, shows you sort of how to search for company data in Factiva. So you go to companies markets and you click on the company tab, and then you come to a search screen. You can type in your the company that you're looking for, and it will give you some suggested listings. So you can usually select the first one, because the first one is usually the one that is the listed company or the parent company. And this is what they call the snapshot. So they'll give you like, so they'll give you like the recent performance. They'll give you the key financials and key executive information. Where are the sectors that their business lines, where their revenue comes from. And this is the peer listing. The peer listing doesn't appear for every company, but most of the major ones. So let's say if for medical supplies, for instance, like Medtronic, is a pretty big company. So they will have this peer listing, and you can actually customize this peer listing by certain criteria. So such as market capitalization or by the number of employees. And you can also choose different types of industry classifications to create this list. Yeah, so for each of the companies on this listing, right, you can actually click to go to the snapshot for that company. Okay, so we'll move on. Yeah, and then later on, Mila will be covering this as well. So another good place to find out, right, what companies are doing R&D in, right, is actually patent databases. Because if you check in the patent assignee field for a lot of these patents, you find that actually a lot of patents are filed. The patent assignees, right, are certain companies. So like Microsoft has thousands and thousands of patents. Adobe has more than thousands and thousands of patents. So even though the individual inventors may differ, but the patent assignees are usually who holds the financial control of that patent. So that this is a good place to get an idea of like who is doing R&D, right, in the innovation you're interested in, and you are able to maybe approach them for partnership opportunities, or you even think about selling your innovation to them if they are doing R&D in that area. Okay, so for those of you frantically taking notes, right, throughout this session, don't worry about it. I have a cheat sheet available. So you can just get this link, this bit.ly link, and it provides you with a breakdown of some of the databases I've been covering and gives you some pros and cons, some analysis about these different databases. So you can refer to this handout, right, for more information. And I also provide direct links to some of these databases. So you can just click on that to log in and access the resource. Okay, so finally, we'll have a couple of minutes to get any questions that you may have. So you can use this one, or you can use the chat screen if you like, to ask certain questions, and I'll try and answer them. Just we're having a very quick look through. Okay, so far nothing in the chat screen. Yeah, so if I'll give you I'm afraid a lot of our subscribed databases, right, only accessible to NUS students and staff. But I believe the GRID program also has one database called Lux. So Lux also provides some industry reports. So that's one resource. And you can actually access, maybe I will, can we use screenshot for any of these tools in our pitch deck? Yes, but you must attribute. So let's say you screenshot a Frost and Sullivan slide, right? And you put it in your presentation. please make sure that you put it that you have gotten it, you cite properly lah, that you have gotten this from Franz and Sullivan. NUS students, yes. So as long as you are NUS student or staff, you have access to all of these databases. Okay, so I'll give another minute for questions because I'm running a bit ahead already. I'm eating into Milan's time. Right. Yeah, the slides, right, are in the handout that let's see, let me put in the link again. So in the chat. Yeah, so the PDF version of these slides are available in this handout. Okay, so we'll move on to right. So this is like a freebie lah. This is a bonus information. So some of the resources that you can try out, right, are these. Oh, I have one slide missing here. Okay, I can probably demo it. So anyway, free or almost free resources. So there are a lot of these market research companies, right, that produce white papers or they have blogs. So these are some resources that you can try out. Government websites actually have a lot of industry information and market analysis. So they it's always a good place to look out for. And then there are certain institutions or government institutions or non-NGOs that produce statistics and data. So these are some of the resources. And finally, right, National Library also has quite a lot of these resources. So you can actually check out the NLB website for some of their databases. There's a certain level of overlap between their subscriptions and our subscriptions. So you can actually look into NLB, right, as an alternative if you're not an NUS student or staff, or if you're a student but then you're graduating. So once you have graduated, right, then a lot of these resources are not available anymore. So you can try out NLB as an alternative. Just let me very quickly show you. Hang on one second now. Right. Right. So from this is the portal page, right? So if you search in find more, so for instance, right, I'm looking for this material. Okay, they say that graphene is yesterday's news already. This is borofine. It is even more advanced. So let's say if I do a search for this component, right, and I'm not an NUS student or staff, so a lot of these things I cannot access, right? But if you notice on the right hand side, there's this thing here. It's called open access. So you can actually limit your search, right, to materials that are available for free. That means there are open access articles and data that you can make use of. So these articles, right, should be available as open access materials. Oops. Yeah, so again, you do your search in our library portal first. Then when you come to the list of results, you just click on this open access. And then you should be able to get hold of all these materials, right? Most of them would likely be academic materials lah, but it's a good place to get started. So for non-NUS students and staff, right, this is one way of making use of our libraries find more for your own research. Okay, and for those of you who are alumni, right, that means you're no longer a student here, but you are alumni, then you can check out under alumni. You notice that we have access to e-resources. So we have certain resources that are available via remote access, right? Because the publisher's license agreement with us allows alumni to access these. So for these, right, the business one is this one, EIUCD data. This is actually a pricing database. So it will give you like the average price, right? CPIs, average prices for various goods and services, right, in different cities. So let's say how much does it cost? How much does an average clerical officer earn, say, in New York? Or what does the average cost of a meal, cost in London? How much does it cost to buy a loaf of bread in Amsterdam? So, to find out costing data, I usually recommend this to students who get job offers overseas. You can build together, right, a pretty good idea of what the cost of living is like, and then you compare that with the salary that they're offering you to see whether it's enough to cover your living expenses or not. So these are some of the resources available for alumni that you can make use of. Yeah, so I will hand over my time to Milan already. So I'll stop sharing. Okay, so Milan, would you like to get started on?
Okay, let me try start sharing my screen first. Yeah. Okay, I will bring this up first. I think some of you are from GRIP. If you are from GRIP and you don't, because I understand this, you already have an introduction about patents or that this afternoon. If you want, if you're very tired, you don't want to listen again, you can leave the session. But I do, we appreciate that you actually take time to get the feedback, fill in the feedback form at the end of the PowerPoint slides. We have the feedback form, right? Do we? Oh, yeah.
Oh no, it's not in the PowerPoint slide, but
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
put the link in the chat. So before you all go, right, if any of you don't want to stay for the same topic as what you covered this afternoon, can you just fill out the feedback form before you leave?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will, because it's, I know it's almost like 4 something already. Everybody is very tired. So I will try to go through as much as possible. As you know that this is recorded. So anytime if you say you want to refresh what has been said, what has been mentioned, you can always go and watch the video again. So here, let me try to, okay, I know as Zoom is always got so many screens here that it's very difficult to just, okay. Okay, for IP, I'm just going to just do a very quick mention that patent is just one form of intellectual property. Even for a product like iPhone, you can, within the product itself, you can see that there are so many different types of IP, like trademarks, design, where the look and feel of the product, design, layout, design of the integrated circuit, which covers under copyright, as well as patents, which is the feature, covers the functionality. If you have, you want to know more, we can always go to the patent lead guide that we have, and then under there's one tab on FAQs, which you can take a look at, read more about the different types of IP. So this is just a very simple timeline that I came up with. Just to get you an idea, like for example, unlike a journal article where you just, a journal article where is published, the information is available immediately. But for this case, for patents, it's not the case where when somebody files a patent, the information is not known until like the first patent document called a patent application is published sometime around 18 months. There may be some IP patent office may publish something like notification, like what Suyen has mentioned just now, like Lexis, one of the product mentioned about Effectiva has
Nexus Uni.
Lexis Uni has some notification about somebody say file a patent, a company or inventor file a patent, some notification, but it is not an official publication of a patent application, as you can see here, which is usually about 18 months after the filing date. Then the patent office will check through and see if it is can be granted, the invention can be granted protection. So again, it may take several months or even years that before it's granted. Then you have another publication called granted patent, which is another one document. So one invention can have several documents, and if let's say the invention is filed in many countries, you also have many documents for many countries. So that's why it's so different from just a journal article. And then here, if it's granted, you have like 20 years from the starting date, from the date of filing. But another complication is where patents can also be abandoned because the inventors, after maybe because of change of technology, they may find that it's not worthwhile pursuing this path. So they may abandon it, or even like the patent is granted, they have to pay maintenance fee. Maybe it's too expensive, or for some other reason, they may not choose to continue, so it may expire. So sometimes you have to check whether that particular patent is the legal, what's the legal status for it. And so this is some things just for you to know. For reading a patent document, like there's a standard format. For example, they have a cover page where you have the patent number, the title, assignee details, the classification where you can use to search for patents that are similar. Sometimes they have drawings and also description about the invention. Then may also contain examples as well, how it works. As the claims, which is the legal boundaries of the patent documents, which has maybe you can look up if you're not quite sure where it starts. You usually have things like I claim, we claim, and so on and so forth. So what you can do is, if you want to have an idea, go and read out on the slide, on the link on the right-hand side, or watch this short video that I've created. So I'm going to do just some simple search, okay? Like Suyen mentioned that business looking for business information. There are other sources that you need to know in order to get a complete picture of the technology or the environment that is you're going to work in. So, but I'm going to cover just this part on searching patents. So this is a quick snapshot of 3 databases, PetSnap, Lens, and Google Patents. I'm sure most of you are familiar that it's Google Patents. PetSnap is a subscribed database, which means NUS staff and students only can access that. Once you graduate or you're non-NUS people, then you're not able to access PetSnap. Lens database is a free database, and it is actually quite a comprehensive database because, for example, it has a lot of links to scholarly works, like from PubMed and other sources like Crossref. So it is a good way when you want to find non-patent literature. So that is a good resource to cover. So you just take your time to read, but what I want to say is every database has its plus or minus point. Doesn't mean that, oh, you only search in PetSnap or you search in Google Patents. Each one has its good things, and so it's good that you try different databases and take a look what is useful to you. Usually I recommend like how do you search. There is 2 approach to search. It depends on your purpose. What do you want to do? What do you want to find out? Let's say if you want, you're not familiar with the technology or not familiar with the research area, so you might want to start a very broad search. Say do simple keyword search, those that you know. Then you read through whatever that came out, let's say, and then look at what are the terms that people usually use, and then you do searches again. Then you add on to what you know, and then you come up with probably a table. Then you help you to understand your concept, that the area that you want to search. On the other hand, if you are actually very familiar with the technology, but you come across, say for example, a specific patent that you would like to use it to search for other patents that are that you may want to expand your search, then maybe you can try the other way, like what I call the pearl-going type of searches. Start from a single document. So this is my reference point. So what I'm going to use is these 2 examples in the next few slides. As what Suyen mentioned, that we always go to access databases that we subscribe by the NUS Library portal. For PetSnap, you go and when you click on it, there is the 4 links. If you want to access the PetSnap, you go to PetSnap resource site. This is just a registration. Okay. So login. This is the login page after you click from the previous library portal. We recommend that you create a PetSnap account to access because it has all additional features that is not available if you don't have the account. But please do not use your password as in your NUS password. You need a separate password account. Okay, I'm going to use this term that like Suyen, because of COVID-19, I will be talking about face mask. So I did a quick Google search about face mask, and actually there are a lot of different terms that comes up. Could be surgical mask, medical mask, air mask, kind of things. There's so many different variations that come up. So how do I search? Okay, that's one thing. The second thing is, how do I search in a database? Because, for example, if I search, say a very broad search, I just combining different variations and combine with mask. In PetSnap, I can come out to 1.2 million records. Okay, but let's say if I want to be more specific, if I know that face masks always come together as a phrase, then I may do this kind of search, face mask, medical mask, surgical mask. Then the results may come down. Or if I want to do a more specific search, but within a certain fields, the records can be reduced. So it depends on what kind of search, like I mentioned. Do you want to be very specific or you want to be very broad? So this is another consideration, how you search. And PetSnap also have some different set of search operators, like for example, and or not, quotation mark in bracket. I leave it to you to look at it. Maybe I'll just move on. When you have time, you go back and then you can try. When you are trying the actual search, you may use this table. Say for this example, like I mentioned, when I do a topic search, like say, I can come up with a table like this where I have different concepts. I can come up with a different type of search that I want. And there may be different variation how I search. For example, I can do this way of searching, or like I use this because everything has to do with mask. So I can come up with a search option as all the variations, but all these words must be within 5 words of mask. So that is another option instead of doing this. And then filter, of course, there may be different type of filters, can be carbon filter, HEPA filter, and all sorts of filter. So for this search, I'm just doing one aspect of it, which is the HEPA filter. And I can find variations of what is HEPA filter and then combine with it. I may not necessarily combine with all the different options. Maybe I'll just try just using this tool search to try and in PetSnap to demo to you how I do my search. Okay, I would go back to the screen. I will go into PetSnap. Okay, give me a minute. I have already logged into PetSnap. Okay, this is the account. Are you seeing my PetSnap screen? Yeah, or do I need to get out?
Yes. No,
okay.
we're looking at your PetSnap screen.
Yeah, because I cannot see my whatever that sometimes. Okay, I'm going to actually do this, say this option. Okay, I'm going to PetSnap. PetSnap itself has different tabs. You can go to this one, is like a simple Google like kind of feature, or you can go into the advanced tab mode. And you can enter your search here. So like copy and paste. This is my first search concept. So it will, within the first bracket, it was try to search all the variation, face, medical, surgical at first before it combined with mask. But because I'm combining my search with another concept, I want to make sure that PetSnap is doing the right thing. So I put this in a bracket before I add the word and to combine the second concept. okay, which is this one. So my second concept, I am also putting in bracket to make sure that PetSnap do the correct thing before I do a search. So now I found that it has about 3,000 patents. I can do a search. So this is the search results. Here you can actually display, depends on what how you want the results to display, whether most relevant first or by citation count. There are different options you can display, and then you can also say refine your search. Let's say, for example, on the left-hand side, there are many different options to refine your search. Say if you are looking, say specifically, you only want a specific country, say you want to refine to US, any documents that only patent documents that is from US, you can click on refine. So you can continue to refine your search this way. And you also can, as you read, you can see the information here, or you can mark the records as you go along. And okay, let me see what happened to the screen. Oh, it doesn't come out. Okay. This thing is hiding here. Okay, it doesn't. Okay, here you can mark the records as you go along, and then it actually you can save it to a workspace, or you can export your records that you want. If you say you want to save the workspace, you can be a new workspace, you can create, rename it, or for example, I have existing workspace, you will just save it to your workspace. And then you can always, at the end of it, go to your workspace and then see and review what are the searches, what are the results that you have before you can delete it or do analysis based on what you have saved. Then on the other hand that you have, you can also say, for example, search, save alerts, set up alerts. If you find that your search is very useful and this is what you want to continue searching, you can do that. And there are things that you can do also is like, for example, you want to analyze results of this set of results that you have. You want to have a quick idea. Say, for example, who are the top current assignees for this search that you've done. So it give you a sort of like quick overview on different areas. Like for example, you may want to know which other countries, say, because I really limit to US, so there's only one country. So there may be different things that you can do here. So there is one thing that for a quick search, like topic search, say for example, I go to the next one. Any questions? Is there anybody has any questions?
So far, no questions.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, so let's say, for example, on the other hand, I have one document that I have that I may want to search for that document and see what I can do to look for ways to expand my search. So I may just type it, search for the document. Like for example, in this case, this is the document. I just do a quick run through of how the interface is like. So for the overview, you can see the abstract as well as hyperlinks that you can click to, say, to get more information, say about the assignee, for example, or even like what they call international patent classification. These are classification which you can take a look and see whether they classify all the technology based on this standard way of classification, just like a library. We have a library classification system. Okay, and then if it is relevant, you can just click on it to find patents with the same classification. You notice that classification, because it's just assigned, you can, because it's not using English text, so you may get things that are in other languages which you may not be able to get if you are searching purely in English. Okay. In databases, sometimes if it's no abstract in English, then you may not be able to find. So besides international patent classification, then you will have cooperative patent classification, CPC. This is more granular. More countries are actually assigning their patents using this kind of classification. For design patents, they don't use this two kind of classification. They use another classification. So it's different. Okay. So we'll go and take a look at the other options here before I'll tell you what else you can do. So this page here, you can see that there are PDF you can download and you can read, and then it's easier for you to look at it. And then citation. For this invention, this patent document, this inventor has cited 90 patents as well as references. But references, unfortunately, in PatSnap, they do not give you the hyperlink. So for example, if it's a journal article, you may have to go and look at it, search for it. Okay. There are 21 other patents that cite this patent. Here you can actually, there's a tab here where you can actually click to save it into your workspace, like what I've done just now. Add it to a workspace. If you find that it's relevant and useful, you can continue adding whatever you need into your workspace. The other option is you can look at the citation map, which is like another way to represent all the citations, those backward as well as the forward citation. You just can click on any of this reference. It will show you the details, a short summary before. You can also click to view the details, download or save it to your workspace. And you click on the plus sign, will tell you what are other patents that cite this patent. So you can actually go for the main patent to the other people who cite, and then plus other people who cite this patent. So you can keep on looking at the various patents. Okay. Now I must try to go back to my screen. Okay. Okay, let me try to see. Okay. So here, the other tabs that you have is the family. If it's found in many countries, this is what you can find, as well as the legal status. Back to the overview, you can see here is the claim section, which I say is the legal boundary of the document, patent document. What I mentioned just now is the independent and dependent claim. For example, claim 1, paragraph 1 is what I say is what you call an independent claim, because it doesn't refer to other reference to other claim number. For example, these other ones, it refers back to another claim, so it's called a dependent claim. PatSnap is quite good in the sense that it actually quickly allows you to view at a quick look using this claim tree tab to look at all the independent claims easily. So it's a good way if you want to have a quick look at what are the independent claims. I personally find that under description, I like to look at the first paragraph, which gives you a concise definition of what is the invention about, as well as other information. There's one other option, similar patents you can look at, which may be useful for you. It actually helps you to identify. PatSnap will try to search for other patents that are similar, and then present to you about 100 records. And then you can also save it to your workspace, or you can click on this function to say more similar patents. So you can expand your search in this way to find other patents. Okay, there's this one option you can start with. The other option that you have, same thing, what I call using semantic search. Here, there's one way to use. You can either search using a particular patent number, like what I have here. You can do a search in PatSnap semantic option. It will try to retrieve up to about 1,000 records. Okay, so far this one only got 400 over, and you can do this, or you can use as a paragraph less of text. Say for example, I have say in this case I have a journal article, abstract of a journal article. I can use this to search. Sorry, go back to semantic search again. I can copy and paste this into this text search box. Say I can try to search for it. It could be something you write about your invention, or you write a claim. Okay, you can copy and paste the text into that about search box and do a search and see if you can come up with something that could be relevant for you, and you need to take a closer look. So this is one other option that you can try to do. Okay. So far, any questions? Sorry.
No.
No. Okay. Okay. I have a question. If nobody has a question, okay. Okay. Like in this case, where do you find the latest innovation on face masks with HEPTA filter? Maybe in the news, for example, or you search in the internet. Okay. So if you have things like this, why do you still need to learn about searching patent database? I will give you some answers. Maybe what you do is at the next page, go to poleaf.com/Milan. Okay, these are the 4 options that I thought of. Okay, and then you come out, you rank them accordingly, which the best answer or your nearest to what you have, you rank it, and then you submit. Okay, and then we will see what is most people would think of, what is their reasons for searching patents. Okay. Maybe I will show some response to see whether anybody has entered this. So far, nobody has entered. Oh my God, okay. Okay, make sure I don't get sued. Yeah, that's true. A lot of people is like, I just make sure that, let's say I want to go to US market, make sure that I don't infringe on somebody else's invention, then get a letter, immediately. Okay. And then secondly is to check if somebody has a similar invention. Yeah, if it's similar, if it's same, then your patent that you intend to file, you may not be able to file because it's a proud art kind of thing, right? So the other option is get new ideas. That's true. Because like I was doing this example of face mask, and I came across my idea of face mask is just face mask, but somebody has filed a patent face mask that comes together with a hood as part of the garment. So it's like I never thought about it, but actually when I actually searched for this pet snap, then I realized, hey, there are other ideas that I never thought of. So it may be something that you could think of. Okay, as you search, then you come up, oh, something occurs to you that is something new. You can try it. Okay, thanks for your response. I will continue because we will have to go on to the next page. Okay. What I will do now is do a quick snapshot about patent analysis. Okay, which is actually a broad overview of what the set of results that you have. Say, for example, you want to know more about the technology. You want to identify if there's any trend, and who are the major companies or institution or assignees that you can identify. So this may come as one of the options. There are actually 2 different types of options analysis that is available. One is a landscape map. One is Insight that PetSnap. We subscribe to PetSnap Insight. Okay. For landscape maps, this is just some explanation how it's being done. Okay, it is actually some algorithm that PetSnap came up with, and then or they did research on, and what is called a self-organizing map. So those patents that are similar or positioned closer together, and as if it's very different, then it will be more further apart. And then if there is like mountainous area, then it will be represent high area of patent activity, whereas low-lying area will be more of low level of patent activity. But do note that these landscape maps are based on CPC code and IPC code, as I mentioned. If it's like a design patent that is based on, they have another code called Locano classification for design patents, then it would not be able to show on the landscape map. So plus they do analysis of the title keywords. So this is like what is the map is available. I will do a very quick search on using the same topic. And I will just do a very quick demo on this landscape map that you can see. Okay, PetSnap has the option, the subscription that we have, you can do up to 10,000 records. For this demo, I can just do a very quick 1,000 record landscape map. So the map itself, you can actually move about, and you can see that, like I mentioned, this area like is more mountainous area compared to this area. So this would be more patent, has more patent activity compared to this part. Then here there's some different standard options that they have. For example, if you want to look at current assignee, okay. Here, these are the top few companies that is listed for this map. So you can actually drag and drop different companies. Say, for example, you want to look at Lunatech, which is represented red dots on the map, as well as the second option, Hollorsworth, was as well as 3M. So each map, each option color, you can actually drop more than one. For example, 3M is also previously known as Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing. So you can drop into one group. So depends on what you want to represent. For example, in this case, as you look, Lunatech, their patent is more concentrated on this area, whereas Hollorsworth seems to be all on this area, and 3M would be, seems like more spread out. So there are different sort of analysis that you can do as you look at it, and then see what kind of results you can look at. So these are the various options. The other one or two things that I like to demo to you. So it's like, for example, you have like, what I mentioned here. Let's say you have, I cannot see my map again. It's sort of gone. I need to go back. Okay, give me a minute. I have to, cannot drop here. Okay, yeah. So here, I can actually create one paragraph of text that I can add to here. PetSnap will try to identify which part of the map is linked to. Say, for example, here, it identified that this is somewhere located here. So what you can do is, you may want to find out what are the patents that is associated or nearby, located nearby to this area. Because, as I mentioned previously, it's like those that are similar, you'll be nearer to each other. So you can click on this, or you can select a few grid to look at if you want, or you want to look specifically this particular grid. And then you can view the patents within that section that is you're interested in. So this is the patents that you may want to take a closer look, or even create a new landscape map to analyze further. So of course, you can add in new keywords to find patents that are with that keywords you can add in. Okay, you can mouse over to see where is the patents. Cannot. Okay, it's down here. Okay, it looks slightly different. So the icon is the thing is the dot is bigger than normal. So you can see this is the thing here. And finally, you can actually create like a sort of animation video kind of thing to actually have a look at how the landscape map developed over time. So this is a 12-second kind of animation. So you can notice that in the last few years, this part develops very fast. So you may want to have a closer look at this section again. Say, for example, so this is just a very quick run through of how landscape map looks like. Okay, I have one question. Hopefully you are still with me. Okay, I have, say for example, I added some patents into a workspace. Okay, this is the folder, and I have created a map, a landscape map. But when I actually look at the map, I will try to find these two patents in the map, but I cannot find it. Are you interested to know why you cannot find it? Maybe recall what I told you. Go into the polyf again. See, give me an answer, and then maybe I'll explain a bit more. Okay, give a guess. Like, what is it that? How come it's not? What is it? Which option is the one that should be the correct answer? Okay, I will show the response. Okay, does not have IPC code, correct? Anybody has any other option? A or B, design, yeah. Anybody else? Okay. Maybe what I'll do is I just show you why this is actually A or B or C is also correct, not D, okay? I will log the answer. I'll show you quickly what is the thing that, why it's like that, okay? Say, for example, the first one. I do a quick search in PetSnap to show you the record. This is actually a design patent, okay? It doesn't have IPC code or CPC code. It has another classification code called Locarno classification. And that's why if you do a landscape map, you will not display this because it doesn't, there's no option for this, okay? Then the second one that you have, okay, this looks a bit like normal patents. Okay, it has all the assignee information, but you notice there is no classification number. The claims description is all blank. This is like what I read somewhere is called what, phantom patent, or what Suyen said that in the Lexis Uni they have notification of patents that are being filed. So this kind of information is also loaded onto PetSnap because in future they would have the other publication details once it's published. So this kind of document that you see in PetSnap, if you do a landscape map, you will not be able to actually get the information in the there's no landscape map, you can't find it, the document in the landscape map. Okay, this is more for your information, because not everything can be found in the landscape map. Okay, so the other thing that I want to do a very quick search is PetSnap Insight, which is also part of it that provides some business intelligence information, because you might want to look at the technology, you want to look at the company itself. So, and there are 3 ways to do. You can actually search, as you do a result of a search, then you can go in through there, or you go to your workspace, or you directly log in from library portal page. Okay, I will do this search that I have. Okay, if let's say, for example, you are at a certain screen, you want to go back to your what you have done previously, you can go to your history function here and find the search that you are interested in. Say here you want to do insight. Got any? Do you have any questions, Suva?
Nope.
No. Okay. So here you can create a technology map, dashboards, or rather, or there's option for a company dashboard. So this here is a quick overview of the different options that are available. On the side panel here, there are different options which you can take a look. Say, for example, under each category, there are different subsections to it. Say you want to look at the key technology, and there'll be explanation under each table information, which you can understand what is this table is all about. I like to show this part on the innovation word clouds, because there's, first of all, has this word cloud here, which you can just select the particular area that you want to look at. You just click on it. The patents are displayed on the right-hand side. And also this view of innovation that I thought it was a good area, a thing to look at. You can decide what are the various subsections that you want to look at, and then you can just click on that section that you want to specify. So this is one way to quickly zoom into the area that you want. Okay. So this is a quick summary of PetSnap Insight. So this is just in summary what we would suggest, that there are several ways to search for patents. So you apply different techniques, you try to save it in the work bin or workspace and analyze, or you set up alerts or search strategies to help you to refine your, save your searches so that you can redo your search next time, generate landscape map and PetSnap Insight as well. Okay. Finally, before we end, I'm going to do a very, very, very quick demo, or just some brief information on lens.org, because as I mentioned earlier, PetSnap is a subscribed database. Once you graduate or you leave NUS, then you are not able to access this subscribed database. But Lens is free. So, and it's quite comprehensive. It's over 123 million documents, and it has links to journal articles as well. So these are the options available. Okay. And I do a very, very quick search on just using this same topic that I have. I go to, okay, let me bring this over to lens.org. They have scholarly works, that means like link to journal articles as well as patents. You can search under this option here, or you want to have a structured search, which explain the different search views. You can do that as well. Say, for example, you want to specify this search here I've done. Okay, you can actually, it's most similar to PetSnap, and you also have analysis, some analysis, but it's not as many options as in PetSnap. There are different ways that you can browse by, say, this kind of analysis. And then for documents, for example, what I like about Lens is, for example, you are able to cite, look at the references, and as well, if it's a full text journal, it's very easy to go and click on it to get the free article itself, and even full text here in this database. So there's one option that you can try to explore. The other option is, for example, if you know of the ORCID ID, you can use it to search in Lens database and then retrieve all the patents associated with this ID. So there is another good option that you can try and find out, because PetSnap doesn't have this option. Okay, finally, I almost ending already. I managed to go finish fast. Okay, we would like you to actually give us feedback about this session, and then this will help us to improve on our session. And then we hope that you will join us for future sessions. If you have any questions, maybe you also can put in the chat box while people fill in this option. Let me see whether. Okay, I know it's already 5 o'clock, 5:10. It's no. Okay, I cannot see my chat box. Somehow it doesn't come up. Okay. I have some more.
Yeah, no questions so far.
I have more slides after that, but it's just for your information. You just take it when you are free, on your free time, you can take a look. Okay. So you want to say something or?
I'm going to stop the recording and the live stream. Then, and I've also allowed participants to unmute yourselves. So once I stop the recording, if there are any questions you'd like to ask in person, you can unmute yourself and